Hello, beautiful people. This video is about answering the question, why do I get overwhelmed so easily at work? It's not just stress, it's a signal. Do you ever wonder why you regularly hit walls of your limits at work? Do you feel like everyone else is coping and you're secretly falling apart? Here's what overwhelm really is and why it's a leadership superpower in disguise. By the end of the video, I want you to be able to understand the deeper reason behind overwhelm and how to use it to redesign your work, to build your capacity, and to build your credibility. On a personal note, overwhelm was something that I was incredibly familiar with when I was younger, and I was laughing with a friend about it recently, getting ready to do this video, and I said I used to commit to not crying at work, and then I would go home and I would cry to a flatmate or cry to a family member, and I would bottle it all up until I was on the bus. I couldn't cry on the bus or on the train or on the tube, because I worked in London for a while when I was young, and I would wait until I get home, and then it would uncork and I would be miserable for quite a while. So overwhelm is something that many of us have worked through, and I really would love you to be able to see it as the foundation for a real leadership superpower. So think of it as a signal, not as a weakness. It is not something that you are stuck with for the rest of your life. It's something that I don't know if it ever completely goes away, and maybe that's not a bad thing, but it is something that you can absolutely learn how to tap into that energy, how to manage that energy, how to learn from the signals. So think of it in terms of it's a signal that you can use to help you actually be better at a lot of aspects of leadership. If you ignore overwhelm, it's going to lead to burnout. If you listen to overwhelm, it's going to give you an opportunity to be able to grow, because you're going to have to learn a whole lot more skills in order to be able to grow with your overwhelm capacity. One thing to recognize is that you're probably seeing breakdowns that other people are not even recognizing or paying attention to. So if you are tuned into how work works, if you're tuned into other people's capacity, if you're tuned into what matters to other people and what they're trying to make happen, if you're ambitious, which you are because you're watching this video, then what you're going to recognize is that your radar extends much, much more broadly than other people's necessarily do. And that means that you're taking on a whole lot more information and a whole lot more understanding, and that can actually add to your overwhelm. So you may have a radar for seeing what's working and what's not working in your group, your team, your organization, your department. But what you don't necessarily have is a coordination capability. Now, many of the videos on this channel talk about coordination and talk about commitments and talk about requests and talk about offers. I really encourage you to look at some of those, because they are helping you build your coordination capability and your execution capacity. Many times when you have a lot of overwhelm, you're seeing what needs to happen and you don't necessarily have the authority or the structure to be able to act or to deal with it. I want to help you understand what that looks like and set you on the path to building that for yourself. There's a number of practices that I have found valuable in bringing myself out of overwhelm. One of the ones, and again, it comes back to a boss that I had when I was very young and I first came to the US, and he had this big statue. I mean, it was about this big. He had this big statue on the front of his desk. So here are you sitting on the other side of his desk, and many times the first thing you saw was this big statue. And the statue was of a bunch of huskies pulling a sled. And it said at the bottom of it, if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. And I'll never forget that, because what it did for me was it said, get out ahead of the game. Otherwise, you're always just going to be looking at the not too pretty end of some other dog. So what I was always looking to do, and that probably enhanced my overwhelm, but was to get out ahead of the game. And what does it mean to do that? What it means is if you can look at what's producing overwhelm for you, and it might be another department coming in with 20 requests to you in a day because something is broken in the relationship between your two departments, you can be the person who's able to take a step back. You can be the person who's able to begin a design of a process that would make that more efficient and reduce the work that is on your plate. Remember, if you're the person who's seeing things more expansively than maybe some of your colleagues are, you're also the person who's potentially the person to do some redesign. And if you're smart about it, what you can do is you can do redesign that will reduce the amount of work that you have on your plate because of a breakdown happening between your department or your team and another team. So get out ahead of the game and begin to offer to do redesign of things that's producing an enormous amount of work for you and adding to your overwhelm. If you're trying to succeed by not making offers because you don't know them and you haven't practiced them, you're missing a huge opportunity, because what you're trying to do there is you're trying to succeed by being noticed, by working harder, by taking on more. And you're relying on other people to recognize your limits. Nobody's going to be able to recognize your limits. The only person who's going to be able to do that is you. And you need to learn how to be able to recognize your limits and how to be able to say no when you need to, which is very difficult for some people, no respectfully, and how to be able to make offers that will actually help other people see the value that you're bringing and allow you to be able to change some of the structures that you're working in that are leading to your overwhelm. So I mentioned the idea of saying no. Some of us are really bad at saying no because we think it's going to do us a lot of damage, and we think that people aren't going to appreciate the work that we're doing, and we think that we're shutting down opportunities and possibilities for ourselves. Those, coincidentally, are the same people that live with a lot of overwhelm. So practice saying no, and if you do what I suggested in the previous video, which is what to do when you get overwhelmed at work, is you break your commitments into 3 different buckets. You look at things you've committed to, that you're 100% active and involved in, and that you know you can handle and you know you want to handle, things that might be negotiable, and things that are wishes, hopes, dreams, stuff you'd like to get to. If you start breaking your work down into that, what you can do is you can say no to a third of what's on your to-do list. You can begin to renegotiate what's in the middle, the negotiable commitments, and you can really dedicate yourself to the ones that you've made really serious commitments around. But what you're doing in that process is you're building your negotiation capacity, and your negotiation capacity includes saying no. So you can say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to decline to do this right now. I could potentially do it a month from now, a week from now, a quarter from now, whenever it is. But I can also introduce you to someone who I think might be able to help you with it. So you're not being rude, you're not being disrespectful, you're not being helpful. You're simply recognizing your own capacity and managing yourself within your own capacity. It's super important if you're looking for a leadership role. It's super important if you're looking to be a valuable member of a team, because it means that you can manage yourself. So think of overwhelm not as something that's wrong with you or not as you being broken. I certainly did think about that in the beginning, and I thought it was something that I had to squash and try and get rid of. But now I see it as an indicator that I'm ready to step up into something bigger, that I see it as a threshold for me moving to a next level of agency. For you, if you're dealing with overwhelm right now, your next level of agency is making offers, learning how to negotiate, and really learning how to be able to say no politely and respectfully, and with an offer to the person to help them in some way that is less than what they're asking for, direct them to someone else who might be able to help them. And what it does is that builds trust, long-term trust over time. And you will also learn how to be able to trust yourself to be able to manage your own workload. As you go through this process, I really encourage you to think about overwhelm and how you take care of yourself at work in the context of what you want to do next. And the reason why I'm suggesting that is you're going to look more pragmatically at the things that you're going to say no to and the things that you're going to decline, the things that you're going to negotiate, if you understand where you're headed. You're not just sitting in your overwhelm, you're also looking at how do I deal with my overwhelm? How do I take care of my own capacity? How do I communicate and negotiate through my network of the commitments that I've made in a way that positions me for my next promotion? I have a promotion readiness assessment. It's free. There's a link down in the comments below. It's www.getpromotedassessment.com. It's also on my webpage. Do it as a way of grounding yourself in what you want to do next, and then go back and start building your capacity to be able to deal with your own overwhelm. And also make friends. Make sure that you have friends who can help you. Make sure that you have people you can cry with if you need to, but build your capacity so that you can begin to move forward with your life and your career. You're brave and courageous to be doing this, and I wish you the absolute best of luck with it. Let me know how it goes down below in the comments. Take care and goodbye.